With us now, all the way from Australia, is my childhood friend, Lisa Finn Powell. We're here to discuss her book called The Thin Time. Lisa, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here.
Cannot believe that you flew all the way from Australia to be here. Thank you so much. We grew up singing in the patriotic singing group called the Futures of America.
Yes, we did. Red, white, and blue.
There you go, childhood friends. And
Yeah.
you grew up to be a performer.
I
So
did.
tell us about your early music career.
Well, I started out singing in, rock bands with all the teenage guys, where I was just the girl singer, and then eventually I thought, actually, I want to run the band myself. So in London, I worked for years in a rock band. Then I switched to jazz, where the audiences are, very polite and clap, and you go home early. That's a bonus. And yeah, so I'm working in Sydney now, and it's great. Love it.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Sing some of our old songs. Always think about, the old days. I did stream something live once that I was singing, but it went sideways, unfortunately. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know that my show was the very first show to ever stream live on Facebook?
No.
They used our show as the prototype for the technology to make that work. They were getting ready to do America's Cup. And I had met this guy, Doug Stanley from Ridgeline Entertainment, and he says it's top secret. He goes, but you're the one. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So that technology was something that I got to participate in, which I thought was fabulous. You've worked for radio stations, television stations, print. You've written many articles about all types of things.
Yeah.
Right? Op-ed pieces. Favorite thing that you wrote before your book, obviously, but
Well, I guess that, I was a columnist for a long time, so I like things that I can say from my own point of view.
Okay.
And I wrote a column for years for a Chicago suburban daily paper about mothering. And it started out quite, tame, just various tips about mothering. But then I realized the more surly I became, the more people were interested in it, because that was kind of the reality of mothering. So we went in that direction, and that was a lot of fun.
And you're a mom of 5.
I'm a mom of 5, yeah.
And so yesterday, because we were reminiscing after I picked you up from the airport, and we called our singing director, George Fernall, from Futures of America. We sang a little song for him. So we decided we would sing it here.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so you started off, and then I'll chime in.
Sure,
Okay, ready? Yeah, here we go. Ta-da! Okay.
Pack up all my cares and woes, here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. Bye-bye. When somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, and so is he. Bye, bye, blackbird.
We could keep going, but we won't.
We sang that so much.
So much fun. So Mr. Fernall was so excited, and he's so proud of both of us, but it was so touching because he started singing with us.
He did, yeah.
And life is such a journey, and so we also share something else. We were both widowed,
Right.
and because you were widowed, you wrote this book about grieving and the process. So Lisa, talk to us about The Thin Time.
Right, so the title of The Thin Time came to me when my husband was dying. He was at home on hospice care, and the lovely people, people who work in that business are just amazing. They have big hearts and spirits, and they must have a difficult job. It would be hard to see people suffering, but I had the counselor from the hospice come and say to me on the last day, do you know about the thin time? And I didn't. And he said that it's really sort of the kind of the veil between the worlds, And I took that to mean that he was really partly in this world, but partly out, even though he was still physically there. And so I felt like our family during the time, the last 2 weeks where he was off the light support and he was draining away, really, that we were sort of on thin time in our family. There were 6 of us, but there were about to be 5 of us. Everybody knew this. And so when I started to write, that really resonated with me, and that worked, yeah.
So I marked a passage, if you wouldn't mind. Could you read that
Absolutely,
for us? Could you
I
share
would love
it?
to, yeah.
Okay, it's where the little bookmarky is
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Okay. Brilliant.
Thank
Get
you.
it down, yeah. So this is a very tiny chapter. It's called The Thing About Grief. It's toward the end.
Okay.
And I like this because it sort of resonates with people who have different forms of grief, because grief doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to just be about death. It can be about a lot of things. People struggle with, retirement or losing a pet. There's a lot of reasons why we grieve, and it's a mystery.
Okay.
So this is called The Thing About Grief. Sometimes when it's all gone quiet, I think, yes, it's left now, finally, just like I was promised, just like everybody said it would. In fact, everyone else thinks my bereavement must have melted away a long time ago, now that I am happily ensconced in my new life. But I still feel it there lurking, and I think maybe there must be something wrong with me that I keep imagining a presence that shouldn't be. But in reality, I know differently. I just don't say so. Even when I try, the words leave my mouth and hover in the air somewhere between me and the ears of those that I love. Grief itself is tasteless, odorless, silent. I feel it chasing after me, but it stays enough in the shadows so that I never really get a good glimpse of its shape. It puts words in my mouth and thoughts in my head and visions in my mind's eye that mesmerize, hypnotize, and paralyze. I want to turn around and grab it by the throat until it stops repeating the same messages I already know, but just cannot bear to hear anymore. These little messages swirl around my heart, attempting to form a barrier that keeps me longing for the person I once was, but know that I can't ever be again. Once you face mortality, you can never go back. Tears come whenever they want, sometimes hard and fast, like a dangerous squall in the ocean, the kind that takes all hands on deck to save the sinking ship. Other times they arrive softly, barely noticeable, like a single bird's feather lost to the wind. I reach for it, but it flutters past my fingertips. Washington Irving wrote that there is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. I know that now. For me, grief was liquid at first, oozing all over, impossible to contain, making its way under cracks and flowing through openings and into places that really shouldn't get wet. It hardened over time into a dense, thickened mass, pieces of which sloughed off when least expected, like a calving glacier. Constantly moving under its own weight, it would dramatically break off in a thunderous crash, then return to icy crystals of calm, silencing its secret as if nothing ever happened. Yeah, I do that every time I read
Me
it.
too, right? Because it's no matter, and one of the reasons you wrote the book was really to help people going through the grieving process.
Right, yeah. I mean, you do flounder around a bit when you're grieving, trying to read things, trying to talk to other people. And some things work for you and some things don't because we all process differently. But it took me 11 years of thinking about it and writing on little scraps of paper because I'm a journalist. So whenever I'm stressed, I always write things, on the back of an envelope, in the margin of my diary,
Paper plates,
receipt,
right?
anything, just because it's bottling up. So then I gathered up all these little bits of paper, many of which I couldn't find actually, and wrote the book. And then it was a sort of grieving process all over again, which I hadn't really expected. But I do recommend, hash it all out, get it all written. And oftentimes we have these things that run on a loop in our head and we worry about something from the past, something someone said, and then it just runs and runs. But when you write it down, you can kind of get some clarity around it and realize that maybe you aren't as angry or as upset as you thought you were. Or maybe you still are and you should get some counseling,
Yes.
something like that.
Right. So there are different types of grief, but in particular, being widowed, life does go on, and there are new beginnings, and there are new chapters, and there is hope after the rain, or in your case, hope after the wind. And I
Yeah.
just want to give a beautiful kudos to your
Shout out to my
husband,
hubby,
Vin,
yes.
the graphic artist who really illustrated this so beautifully for you. And we all need people that become the wind beneath our wings. We all need a support system. Your book is, I think, a wonderful companion, if you will, for people that are going through the grief process that might not have someone that can be that wind.
Yeah,
So-
Vinny came along quite early on, and I already had 4 children, so it was a major change for all of us, and totally unexpected. But he's sort of been there through all of the process of it, and so he knew, he just knew what I wanted.
He knows you well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he knew the whole story, and he was there for all of the sort of gnashing of my teeth when I was trying to write it. So yeah, it came out beautifully. Yeah.
And you guys are on a world tour together. You have
We
a whole,
are.
like book signings in many different cities. You went to our hometown,
I
Flomo,
did. Yeah, that
Florissant,
was
Missouri.
really fun actually. I did a little jazz gig, and yeah, it was fun. Enjoyed it. Yeah. So we're
And you'll
here
be
and
traveling all over, right?
going up a little further north, going to London for a few days. We lived in London for quite a long time, so we're going to meet up with our old gang and my old rock band. I'm getting the band back together.
Yay.
And we're having a little gig and a book signing. Yeah.
And I told you one of my favorite songs is Moon Dance by Van Morrison.
Yes.
How about you? What's one of your favorite songs? Something that just is like an anthem for you.
You know, I actually really like singing AC/DC.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
That.
Give me like a couple of lines
Or
of that.
I do a really good Whole Lot of Love.
Yeah?
Yeah. That one was one that the drummer wanted me to sing, and I was like, oh no, that's not me. But then after a while, it kind of became my favorite one. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite line in that? Give us a little something. Sing us out, Lise. By the way, your book is going to be available soon on Amazon. So
It
people
is?
from all over the globe can
Yes.
reach out to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just selling it now kind of in the little venues on the tour, but it will be on Amazon as soon as my husband helps me put it on there.
There you go. I think it's going to happen within an hour.
Yeah, he's busy right now.
Yes. So you ready? Sing us out.
Okay. You've been fooling, baby, I ain't coolin'. Gonna take you back, baby, back to schoolin'. I'll leave it at that.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's so
Thank
great to see you
you.
and spend time with you.
I know, we made it happen.
Celebrate life with you. Please stay tuned for more on Live It Up. My dear childhood friend, Lisa Finn Powell, and her book, The Thin Time. Please order it.